66% of men lose their hair by age 35. Thing is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's a little bit too late. Do you want a bald spot to pop up, or do you want to do something about it first? Do you want your hairline to recede, or do you want to do something about that first? Well, guess what? I've got a solution. You know what? It's Hims, Hims. Go to hims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and other wellness supplements for men. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. Well-known genetic equivalents to name-brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. No snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. Prescription solutions backed by science. Order now. My listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today right now while supplies last. See website for full details. That would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to 4hims.com/Stephen A. That's 4hims, FORHIMS.com/Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, from New York to LA and everything in between, including Houston, San Antonio, and West Palm Beach, recently added to the Stephen A. Smith lineup right here on ESPN Radio, plus Sirius XM Channel 80. You saw what happened this weekend. And for New Yorkers out there, I'm not talking about Gleyber Torres. I know you saw his walk-off homer last night. I love seeing it too, but I ain't talking about him right now. I'll get into them a little bit later. I'll get into the fact that the Yankees have won 15 of the last 16 games. They're flat out balling. Tomorrow, I can't wait to get into that one-game playoff that the MLB added to the equation a few years ago, and how much you should lament that for this upcoming season. And there's a lot of reasons to that. I'll get into all of that. Eventually. But right now, you know what time it is. You see what has been happening this weekend. You've seen what's going on. You saw what happened Saturday night. And as a result, we've got ourselves a situation. The Cleveland Cavaliers, led by LeBron James, the greatest player in the world, is on the verge of sweeping the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. DeMar DeRozan showing why there's a flagrant difference between a star and a superstar, because while LeBron James was doing his deal, DeMar DeRozan was riding the bench for the last 14 minutes of regulation. You see the city of Philadelphia, brotherly love, the process, we all have to support the process. We see what's happening in the process right now, don't we? Because evidently the Boston Celtics had their own process going on. And look at how it has worked against the Philadelphia 76ers. We are witnessing what Houston is about to do, because Chris Paul is en route to his first conference finals appearance, courtesy of the Houston Rockets, going to Utah, winning both games in Utah. Now they're coming back to the Toyota Center for Game 5, and chances are they're going to close out this series, because they just blew the Utah Jazz out of Utah in Game 3 and then handled their business in Game 4. And, of course, we saw Kevin Durant, courtesy of a middle-of-the-night tweet received, or text messages, received from Draymond Green, getting on him to step it up and remind the world of the superstar player that he is. And Kevin Durant did exactly that in Game 4 against the Pelicans, dropping 38 on Anthony Davis and the crew, ultimately leading the Warriors to a blowout win over the Pelicans. And now they're up 3-1 as well. The Pelicans on the brink of elimination, wondering what the hell they're going to do about Boogie Cousins, since he's been hurt and you've looked well without him, and Alvin Gentry probably doesn't want him. Do you get rid of Boogie Cousins? Do you keep him on board? Or if you're going to trade him, do you trade him to L.A. for a young player like Brandon Ingram? Or do you trade him to Washington for a player like Otto Porter? What do you do? There's a whole bunch of questions. But here's the deal. Here's my thinking. I got something for New Yorkers that I would like y'all to consider. Because if we watch the play of LeBron James reach new heights, his greatness ever embedded in our minds and in our hearts, forget the debate about whether or not he's the GOAT or whatever the case may be. You know what question I have? Listening to people that I know throughout the league LeBron James' next destination comes down to two cities, L.A. and Philly. LeBron James is either going to join the Lakers or he's going to join the Philadelphia 76ers. That's basically the popular belief that's going on at this particular moment in time. Here's my question to New Yorkers, specifically to new coach David Fizdale. What exactly can you do to get LeBron James to strongly consider New York City? If you had an argument, New York, that you had to come up with that could compel LeBron James to elevate his level of consideration for the New York Knickerbockers franchise and Gotham City, what could you offer? What could you offer that LA doesn't offer? What could you offer that Philly doesn't offer? A matter of fact, since I'm heard in all three cities. Philadelphia, what's your argument for LeBron James to come to your town? The Lakers, what is your argument for LeBron James to come to town? The inquiring minds want to know, because right now, LeBron James is unquestionably the best basketball player on the planet. 33 years of age, 15th year in the league, built like a chiseled brick house, looks in phenomenal shape and conditioning. We see what LeBron James has done. We've witnessed what he brings to the table. It's a very simple question, ladies and gentlemen. It's one that requires a response. What possible case could you make that LeBron James should indeed come to your city? Because let's face reality. This summer, he'll be the most coveted free agent on the market. Everybody's going to want him first, last, and in between. Paul George comes later. Kawhi Leonard's not a free agent. He'd have to be traded. Klay Thompson's a year away from free agency, as is Jimmy Butler, as is Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant is going to stay in Golden State. He's not looking to put himself on the free agent market. So what do? Because when you look at LeBron James, who dropped 38 and hit that floater, on the left side of the court, 15 feet away from the basket, over Anunoby for the Toronto Raptors. When you look at the calm with which he performed under pressure, his ability to close, etc., you have to do nothing but marvel at it. You really, really have to. Because that's where I'm at with LeBron James. Now, I will say this. Questions about being a GOAT, stop it. Michael Jordan's going to get that every day, all day from this conversation. The other question that you want to throw into the equation, you want to look at him and you want to talk about his greatness and how his legend continues to evolve. All I ask is that you pump the brakes just a touch. Just a touch. Because when I look at LeBron, you know what I think about also? First of all, let me make sure, allow me to pause. Let me stop, because this is the great LeBron James that we're talking about here. The greatest player in the world, somebody that the league loves dearly. He has a lot of very powerful friends, not to mention folks that are watching that are ultra sensitive and to anything critical that comes LeBron James' way. So let's make sure we throw the disclaimers out there. If we were on TV, I'd put it up in print for you on the ticker tape if I had to. LeBron James is a great husband. I'm not Savannah, but that's what's widely recognized. He's a great husband. He's clearly a great father. He's very philanthropic and charitable with his time and energy. He's sent thousands of kids through school and scholarships and what have you. He's an incredible role model. He's an incredible basketball ambassador. Because far be it from me to be remotely and critical about the great LeBron James. I can't just talk basketball. We have to throw out the disclaimers first, because God knows there are people out there listening, you understand, that love LeBron so much that if you don't literally take his stinking drawers off his body and throw it in a dryer in a washing machine, you've committed a crime. So we have to make sure that we point these things out, because it's very, very important. It's very important. And if I sound like I'm being facetious, it's because I am, damn it, because I'm nauseated by that reality. But it's true. If you know his people and you know the people that are associated with his people and you listen to the fans out there, God forbid that any of us say a negative word about LeBron James. I mean, it just can't happen. I mean, it just cannot happen. I will repeat. We literally need to take the sweaty, dirty drawers off his body and throw it into a washing machine and then make sure we dry it. We want to wash it with the right fabric softener and the right detergent. And then after that, we got to make sure that we put the right fabric softener in the damn dryer and make sure it's squeaky clean before we're allowed to say anything about LeBron James, because God forbid we just sit up there and literally talk about him as a basketball player while recognizing his greatness, while recognizing that he belongs on the Mount Rushmore of basketball, while recognizing that he's probably the second greatest player in the history of basketball. Far be it for anybody to avoid saying all the things I just said before we utter a critical word about him. Because Lord help you then. Lord help you. So I hope that I got that out the way, and I hope that everybody recognizes I have been very complimentary about LeBron James. I think I have. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, let me say this. As great as LeBron is, being in the East his entire career hasn't hurt. I ask a very, very simple question. My boy Champ and a few others that are critical of LeBron James, never hesitating to do so, did accurately point this out. When has LeBron had to go against a top 15 player in his own conference en route to the finals? When has that roadblock ever stood in his way and he's overcome it? When Paul Pierce and KG and Ray Allen and those boys were in Boston, he didn't beat them until he joined D. Wade and Bosh in Miami. Other than that, who was standing in their way? The Indiana Pacers, led by a young Paul George, with Roy Hibbert as their center, with Lance Stevenson as a reserve. Who was standing in their way? Meanwhile, the West was wild. Competition everywhere. You had the Spurs. You had Kobe and the Lakers at one point. You had Golden State on the come up. You had Durant and Westbrook in OKC. You had the Clippers with CP3 and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan and the crew. You even had a tough Memphis squad. Where was the adversity? Where were the roadblocks? Where were the impediments that stood in the way of Larry Bird, that stood in the way of Dr. J, that stood in the way of Isaiah Thomas, that stood in the way of Jordan, that stood in the way of Barkley, Reggie Miller? Where were those roadblocks in the LeBron James era? Where was the Tim Duncan being run into before the finals? Where was the Kobe and Shaq being run into before the finals? These are legitimate questions. When we talk about comparisons to the GOAT, LeBron James lost to Dwight Howard's Orlando Magic, devoid of any other star on the team. Mikael Pietrus and Hedo Turkoglu and guys like that were on the squad. What are we talking about here? Let's make sure we pump brakes before being so quick to just throw out those comparisons, can we? Because I think it's necessary. LeBron James has looked phenomenal. LeBron James is the greatest player in the world. Today, without question. You can make a debate. Is LeBron Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Two different positions. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a 19-time All-Star. He is the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. He also has the lone unstoppable move in the history of the sport, which is the sky hook, something you knew was coming and you could do absolutely positively nothing about year after year after year over the course of arguably the most illustrious basketball career we've ever known. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won in high school. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won in college. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a 6-time champion in the pros, with the numbers to back it up and the lone unstoppable move. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Ladies and gentlemen, pick any sport that you want to, what matter what sport it is. Tell me one human being that had an unstoppable move or an unstoppable shot or an unstoppable ability, and it was like you knew it was coming and there was absolutely positively nothing you could do about that one thing. In the history of the sport of basketball, created by the great James Naismith, there is one move that is deemed that has been deemed unstoppable, spanning decades, and it is the skyhook by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Absolutely, positively nothing else. And he's a 19-time All-Star and a 6-time champion, which would give him 3 more rings than LeBron at this particular juncture. But you want to take him off as number 2 and you want to put LeBron James up there with Magic and Jordan and all of them, okay. And Russell, all right. But I got news for you. Might want to think about that. Because as I look at these series unfold, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. Y'all talking about LeBron. You know who I'm thinking about? Boston. Because I look at the Boston Celtics, who I owe an apology to. I actually thought the Sixers was going to win this series. They ain't winning this thing. If they don't get swept tonight, they'll lose in 5 Wednesday night at Boston. Sixers ain't winning this series. It's over. Why? Because Brad Stevens could coach his butt off. And at the moment, the Sixers seem a bit challenged in that department. Now, let me state for the record, I am not trying to get Brett Brown fired. Brett Brown has been subjected to being bereft of talent for years. Brett Brown has proven that he's a good coach. Brett Brown, this is his first go-round with a competitive team. All of those things are absolutely true. Having said that, I meant what I said Saturday night following the Sixers' overtime loss to Boston in Game 3. I've never seen a coach, in my opinion, who should be held responsible for losing 3 playoff games. Game 1, Boston versus 76ers in Boston last week. Sixers have 6 days rest. They were ill prepared to play. Call it whatever you want. They were ill prepared. They weren't ready. 6 days rest, they were not ready to play. And Boston exploited them without Jaylen Brown. Game 2, you're up 22 with 5 minutes left. You're up 19. Up 19 points. You are up with 3 minutes and 43 seconds left. Celtics go on a run, start raining threes from all over the place. Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, Jason Tatum, all of these boys. Does Brett Brown call a timeout? No. Does he make a substitution? No. Does he slow the pace? No. Does he get Joel Embiid the ball inside? No. Does he bring Markelle Fultz onto the court? Hell no. He did none of those things, nor did he call a timeout. Now, in fairness to Brett Brown, Joel Embiid has proven he's much better facing the basket than he is with his back to the basket. Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. But nothing else. When you look at Markelle Fultz, he should be playing. Find some minutes for him somehow, some way. I like TJ McConnell a lot. I do. But you got to find a way to get Markelle Fultz in the game. And he doesn't have to be your point guard. You got to find a way to get him in the game. At least for a few minutes to see what he can give you offensively. Some offensive punch because he's a scoring machine. Brett Brown hasn't done that. And then Game 3, that catastrophe, that comedy of errors. First of all, Brad Stevens just smoked the Sixers on inbounds plays. Secondly, Ben Simmons needs to step up more. He's been a disappointment. Joel Embiid missed too many putbacks, easy shots. That's problematic. Third, the Sixers have a bunch of one-dimensional players. Yeah, they could play, they could shoot, but basically that's what they do. Whereas the Boston Celtics have versatile players. Can put the ball in the hole, can get to the hole, can shoot can shoot threes, can shoot pull-up J's, the whole bit. Sixers don't have guys that can do that. Bellinelli, Ilyasova, guys like that, that's not what they do. That's not their game. So that's number 3. Number 4, inbounds pass. You got 4 guys on the court. First of all, they're tired, and secondly, none are athletic enough to just get an inbounds pass. That's why you don't let Ben Simmons be the one to take it out. Number 5, and I'm going to bring up Markelle Fultz again. Because if you are Brian Colangelo, do you have any idea how ticked off you are right now? You have any idea? This is the deal. Let me tell you something right now. Let's call this what it is. When you look at Markelle Fultz, understand something. The Sixers had the number 3 pick. Boston had the number 1 pick for last June's NBA draft. What happens? Danny Ainge gets wind. Colangelo and those boys want Markelle Fultz. So what does Danny Ainge do? Essentially pretend he wanted Fultz. Sixers move up to get him, is willing to give away additional compensation in order to get the number 1 overall pick so they could get the man that they wanted and Boston wouldn't take it from them. So that's what happens. They take Fultz. Ainge gets the 3rd pick, ultimately gets the guy he wanted because he holds the Sixers into thinking he wanted Fultz. There's only one way to make amends for that, particularly with Jason Tatum balling the way that he was balling in Game 3. You make sure you get Fultz in there to try and shine as well. The fact that Brett Brown didn't do that, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he ended up out of here. I'm not advocating for it because I think he's done a good job this year, and I don't think he would deserve to be fired. But nevertheless, you still have to look at him and know he's not safe at all because you're Brian Colangelo. You don't have a problem with that? I've seen people get fired for less. Either way you slice it, the Sixers are down 3-0 and on the brink of elimination. Boston's about to move on to the conference finals. And that is the part that makes me so sick to my stomach. For 2 reasons. One's the process. The other is something I'll share with you in just a moment.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie, this does look fun. Whee-oh, you melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Some news for all of you before I get on with it. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Stan Van Gundy for the Detroit Pistons has been relieved of his duties. According to our Adrian Wojnarowski for ESPN, Stan Van Gundy is no longer the president of basketball operations and the head coach for the Detroit Pistons. He is out. I like Stan Van Gundy. I really do. I appreciate his candor. I have no question about his knowledge of the game of basketball. There is no doubt about that. What I will tell you, however, is what some of the things that I heard, and, the players didn't, they weren't particularly enamored with him. Nobody questions his basketball acumen. There's no question about that. There are people that are questioning the relationship between him and the players. I have not spoken to Stan Van Gundy nor the players, some of the players, or at least most of the players themselves about Stan Van Gundy. But I'm telling you, those are the kind of things that are circulating, whether they're true or not. It's unfair to Stan Van Gundy to just definitively say it is. I can tell you that his personality can wear on players. That I can tell you as a matter of fact, just ask Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal. But that doesn't mean he's a bad coach. It certainly doesn't mean he's a bad person because nobody would ever say that about him. But in the end, what it comes down to is that you're just looking at some of the guys, that have been picked up under the stewardship of, Stan Van Gundy. I mean, just last year, Luke Kennard, you picked him 12th overall. That means, you passed up on Donovan Mitchell. You could have had him, but you picked Luke Kennard. That's problematic. You look at this kid, Spencer, Dinwiddie? Remember when Stan Van Gundy picked him up, second round, 38th overall? Dinwiddie. He struggled under the coaching of Stan Van Gundy for 2 years, but now is coming to his own in Brooklyn. Stanley Johnson, he's never panned out. Okay. It was a controversial pick since the fans in Detroit wanted Duke's Justice Winslow, if you remember that. But remember, Miles Turner, you passed on him. Devin Booker, you passed on him. So think about this. This is 2015. Think about what we're saying here. Stan Van Gundy, 2015, you could have had Devin Booker. You passed on him for Stanley Johnson. Think about that. 2017, you passed on Donovan Mitchell for Luke Kennard. Those are the kind of things that's going to count against you. I don't care who you are. Now, obviously, Reggie Jackson going down, having that bad ankle injury. Chances are, if he were healthy, Pistons might have gotten to the playoffs as an 8th seed. But ultimately, in 4 years, you made the playoffs once. And in some people's eyes, it was time to move on from him. It's just that simple. 888, say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Before I went to break, I felt the need to bring this up because the Boston Celtics being in the conference finals rakes my last nerve. Here's why. I knew LeBron would beat Toronto. I knew LeBron and the Cavs were getting to the conference finals as I picked them to get there. And the reason why I picked them to get there was because I said to myself, hey, when I look at it, he's got Toronto's number. He demoralizes the Toronto Raptors in ways that no other team is affected by him. He just does. He just does. So I look at it from that perspective and I say to myself, you know what? Wow. He's going to get to the finals, to the conference finals, against Boston. A Boston team without Kyrie Irving. Damn it. Because that's the only reason I picked the Sixers to win the series because Kyrie was down. I didn't think without Kyrie Irving that the Sixers would be down 3-0. Hell no. But with Kyrie Irving, I thought Boston would take Philly out. And apparently they're doing so without him. I don't want to see Boston against Cleveland without Kyrie. I would love it if Kyrie Irving and the Boston Celtics had met LeBron James in the conference finals. That would have been epic. But LeBron doesn't have to worry about Kyrie. So even though I was on First Take this morning talking about how, you know what? It's not a foregone conclusion that Cleveland should be the favorites to get to the conference finals. In reality, what's going to stop LeBron from getting to another finals if Kyrie ain't there? He's so damn lucky sometimes. He really is. He's great, but my God, he's lucky, and it's on purpose because he takes the path of least resistance. And this is one of those cases. It just is. 888, say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's go to the phones. Chris in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. I'm over here laughing, man, what you just said, because I feel the same way, man. LeBron avoiding Kyrie. Wow, has he been lucky. But I just wanted to touch on, I feel like, Stephen A., I was one of the only few people that gave Boston a chance to win against Philly. I kind of analyzed and dissected this thing. I just felt like Ben Simmons hasn't arrived yet. You could say the same thing about Terry Rozier in Boston, but I feel like they have the personnel, Boston that is, to go along with the coach to defend Ben Simmons. They couldn't do anything with Embiid, so that's why I put him there. And I have a question for you, Stephen A., regarding Golden State and Houston, who it's a foregone conclusion they'll meet next round. Do you believe, because it's something I've been saying for the months leading up, do you believe that Steve Kerr will allow Chris Paul and James Harden to play one-on-one with his guys? I do not believe it. I believe pick and rolls they're going to trap. They're going to force PJ, Trevor Ariza, Luke Richard for those guys to beat him. What is your answer to that?
Well, I think that obviously that's what you'll game plan for. But Mike D'Antoni, being the offensive genius that he is, when he's got a talent like James Harden or Chris Paul available to you, the cerebral Chris Paul, you figure out a way to offset that and put yourself in the best situations to succeed. And so you got to remember, this isn't just Steve Kerr going up against Mike D'Antoni. This is Steve Kerr going up against CP3, much in the same way that Brad Stevens in Boston is going to have to go up against LeBron. You have a cerebral, a basketball savant in Chris Paul on the basketball court with you. And when you have that, that does help. And so I would say to you that even though Golden State is not going to allow certain things, there's certain situations and circumstances that they're going to have to deal with because CP3 is going to see to it. And that's why it was so important for them to acquire him.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Yes, sir. I agree. One quick question, Steve, if you don't mind. For the Boston, for what I'm seeing, if they lose to Cleveland, which I'm not making a poor conclusion, LeBron beats Boston, but if they do beat Boston, how do you feel about Danny Ainge packaging Terry Rozier and one of their wingmen, rather it's Tatum or Brown, to go get Kawhi, maybe a pick and go get Kawhi? Because I don't believe I don't think that would be enough. I don't think that would be enough. I think if I'm San Antonio, I want Kyrie. Tony Parker's about to retire. DeJounte Murray is nice, but Kyrie is on another level. You feel what I'm saying? I'm of the mindset that, to me, that's not how I view it. It really, really isn't. I got to run. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Back to the phones we go at 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. LJ in Houston, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, baby.
What's going on, Stephen A.? How you doing?
I'm all right. Elevate your voice, bro. We can't hear you. Speak up.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. My question is about Chris Paul's performance this weekend. Is exactly what we were looking for as Rockets fans, considering we traded to get him last summer. So my question is now, the fact that we know we're going to play Golden State in the Western Conference Finals, do you think it's more apprehensive for the Rockets to play defense and get the matchup straight, opposed to trying to outshoot Golden State from the three-point line?
I don't think here's your problem. I don't think you need one or the other. I think you absolutely have to have both to win.
Okay.
In other words, now, you can't play defense and win. You can't shoot and outscore them and win. You got to do both.
Okay. Now, as far as Kevin Durant, he's a matchup nightmare. So yes, my thing is this. The fact that if we could throw bodies at him, different bodies, Tucker, Ariza, maybe even Capella on the anchor, do you think that would neutralize him to give us a shot to beat Golden State?
I think the greatest thing that could potentially happen is for Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to be somewhat neutered, forcing Kevin Durant to step up. Because even though he's a big-time ball player, as we were discussing on First Take this morning, Kevin Durant is not, quote-unquote, an alpha dog. He wants to play the right way and what have you, and he doesn't mind deferring a little bit. And that is the reason why you end up having why you end up having a situation the way that it is. You have got to have Kevin Durant step up and embrace that role, being that alpha dog. He has to do it.
Okay. That's a good analysis. I was thinking about it. Appreciate your call, man.
Take it easy, LJ. Thank you so much. Let's go to Dan in Kansas City. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Dan.
Hi, Stephen A. How you doing? First of all, I'd like to congratulate on Dave Fisdale. I know it surprised us that Mark Jackson didn't get the job. And my second one is, I heard Max said this morning that the Cavaliers can take the Celtics, but I think the Celtics have enough bodies to trouble LeBron. What do you think about that?
Well, I think they've got a lot of bodies, but the bottom line is that one more would have been very, very helpful. I would love to see this Boston team with Kyrie Irving going up against LeBron. That's what I wanted to see. Unfortunately, we're not getting that because Kyrie Irving's going to be out for the playoffs. He's out for the playoffs. So that's really, really unfortunate, which makes me want to see Boston a little bit less. But then again, as I've confessed to the Celtics, I got to owe them an apology. I was in the locker room with them Saturday night after they beat Philly. They were like, make sure to apologize. You thought we were going to lose to these boys. I said, hell yeah, when Kyrie went down. Absolutely. But they're like, no. They said, because most teams we go against, they're one-dimensional. We're not. Now, LeBron's not going to be that problem. So, obviously they got a different challenge there. But for the most part, that's what this comes down to. All right? Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you so much. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Ron in Baltimore, talk to me. You're live with Stephen A.
Hi, Stephen A. Good afternoon. I'm not taking anything away from LeBron and the difficulty of the shot that he made or the one against the Pacers, but the game was tied in both of those situations. Mm-hmm. And that's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm not taking anything away, but Stephen A., playing basketball, yes, a walk-off shot is a great shot, but there's more pressure when you're down.
Well, listen, I totally hear where you're coming from, but in the end, what it comes down to is you can't take away from the greatness you witnessed. Whether it's the shot over Indiana, whether it's the shot against the Toronto Raptors, LeBron James at age 33, his 15th year in the league, being in phenomenal condition. You know what ultimately saves him, Ron? Look at the pieces around you. Darko Milicic is gone. We all seen Carmelo Anthony fade this year. Chris Bosh got health issues. Dwayne Wade, age and attrition has made him, a shell of the player that he used to be, at least to some degree. So when you look around and you see other guys who were in the same draft, and whether it's through age, attrition, or just the fact that they just weren't good enough, LeBron James is not just still a great player. He's the best in the world in his 15th year at age 33. You can't take anything away from him, Ron.
I can't, man. Even though he's being guarded by a rookie and Bogdanovich, I just want to, like you, Stephen A., I just want to see it in June. But I'll give him credit. Like, as of all the superstars, I like the fact that he admitted in the postgame, Stephen A., about 2011 and how he had to work on Dwayne Casey made him, and Dirk made him the player who he is. He had to work on his postgame and his jumper. His jumper's never going to be amazing, but it's gotten better. So I got to give him that love. I want to see him down making shots.
I give him all the credit in the world. The only thing that I will say is that he picks the path of least resistance because he stays in the East. So to me, I look at that and I say, I don't want to just hear about your trips to the NBA Finals, because who was the roadblock standing in front of you? But that's it. There's nothing else to take from him. He's the best in the world. He's phenomenal. And he deserves a lot of credit for the fact that he never cheats us, and he's always in ample condition. I got a lot of other things to talk about. I also got another interesting question to throw you guys away now that Stan Van Gundy has departed from the Detroit Pistons. Without his own volition, of course. Stick around. Hour number 2 with Stephen A. up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
66% of men lose their hair by age 35. Thing is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's a little bit too late. Do you want a bald spot to pop up, or do you want to do something about it first? Do you want your hairline to recede, or do you want to do something about that first? Well, guess what? I've got a solution. You know what? It's Hims, Hims. Go to hims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skin care, and other wellness supplements for men. Thanks to science, boldness can be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. Well-known genetic equivalents to name-brand prescriptions to help you keep your hair. No snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements. Prescription solutions backed by science. Order now. My listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today right now while supplies last. See website for full details. That would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to 4hims.com/Stephen A. That's 4hims, FORHIMS.com/Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, from New York to LA and everything in between, including the latest additions to the Stephen A. Smith Show, the city of Houston, the city of San Antonio, the city of West Palm Beach in Florida, plus ESPN Radio and Sirius XM channel 80, 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back to what I was alluding to, what I was talking about earlier. First of all, Stan Van Gundy, he's out as the head coach for the for the Detroit Pistons, the president and the head coach. He's no longer going to get an opportunity to pass up on Donovan Mitchell in favor of Luke Kennard. He's not going to pass. He's not going to sit up there and get a Spencer Dinwiddie and not develop him so he can shine in Brooklyn. Okay. That's not going to happen. And so those are the kind of things that you've got to look at, along with a couple of other decisions he made. The bottom line is he was there 4 years, made the postseason once. Stan Van Gundy knows basketball. It's not like he can't coach, but there's something that's missing from the new school generation as it pertains to coaching them and leading them as far as he is concerned. And as a result, they have to move in a different direction, plain and simple. Now, Jerry Stackhouse was in Detroit yesterday. Jerry Stackhouse is still a coach on the open market. Used to play with the Pistons. Obviously, he's somebody that was in the G League with the Toronto Raptors organization. He's got a lot of he gets a lot of praise. I know Michael Jordan, Mitch Kupchak, and those boys in Charlotte would definitely consider him, even though they'd grab Luke Walton in a heartbeat if the Lakers would have let him go, which Magic Johnson is not planning on doing. So there you have it. It is what it is. One of the questions that I asked before near the beginning of this show, I said LeBron James is going to be the player on the open market. If you're the New York Knicks, what case could you make for him coming to your franchise? If you're the Los Angeles Lakers, what argument could you make right now? If you're the Philadelphia 76ers, does he complete the process per se? And oh, by the way, here's a question I'd like you all to consider. Everybody's been bragging about the process, trust the process. What about the process in Boston? Has anybody taken a moment to consider that? Because I got news for you. I have. Think about the process. While you're messing around, think about the process. If you think about the Boston Celtics right now, okay, pay attention to what's going on, okay? Think about what you're seeing take place before your very eyes. You've got a coach in Brad Stevens, who is nothing short of phenomenal. We can slice it any way we want to now. Okay? Do y'all know that Brad Stevens is only 41 years old? I am 9 years older than Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens is 41 years old. Brad Stevens just guided the Boston Celtics to 55 wins after Gordon Hayward, who starred for him at Butler when he was in college before Danny Ainge plucked him away from that and brought him to Boston. Gordon Hayward goes down 10 minutes into his very first regular season game as a Boston Celtic. His very first regular season game. Ladies and gentlemen, can I just throw something by you since we want to talk about the process, trust the process. Ladies and gentlemen, Jaylen Brown is 21 years old. Jason Tatum, your number 3 overall pick, you hold the Sixers in the passing up on. He's 19. Marcus Smart is 23. Terry Rozier is 23. Kyrie Irving is 25. Do y'all get the picture here? Gordon Hayward, when he comes back, he's 27. The process, trust the process. Did you notice the process in Boston? Did Danny Ainge throw seasons? He acquired Al Horford in free agency. He acquired Kyrie Irving via a trade. He acquired Gordon Hayward, free agency. He drafted Marcus Morris. He holds the Sixers and got Jason Tatum plus extra compensation. And he drafted Jaylen Brown. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Are you paying attention? Jaylen Brown was the 3rd overall pick in the 2016 NBA draft. Jason Tatum was the 3rd overall pick in the 2017 NBA draft. Marcus Smart. Remember him? And what he brings to the table? Are you paying attention, ladies and gentlemen? Are you paying attention to what's going on? Danny Ainge has a coach that right now is recognized as arguably the best coach in basketball. And he's only 41 years old. Right now. That's what Danny Ainge has. The process, trust the process. Well, guess what? Think about this. Think about what Boston is bringing to the table. And tell me, who would you rather be? The Boston Celtics or the Philadelphia 76ers? Now, I want to emphasize, I'm not advocating for the Sixers to get rid of Brett Brown. I'm saying that I think the man's responsible for these 3 losses in this series. Game 1, they weren't prepared. Period. Game 2, that second quarter, didn't call a timeout, didn't slow the pace, didn't get the ball to Joel Embiid, didn't make any substitutions, didn't play Markelle Fultz, didn't call a timeout. Period. Game 3, comedy of errors, particularly on inbounds plays. No protection of the basketball when it really, really counted, when Boston amped up their defense. It's a problem. Having said all of that, we talk about trust in the process. Ben Simmons got to still get a jump shot and hit free throws. Joel Embiid has to learn how to play with his back to the basket better, even though they both can ball. You got these European players that can roll off the screens and pull up for jump shots. Can they put the ball on the floor? Are they athletic or as athletic as Tatum and Jaylen Brown and these boys? Where's your Marcus Smart, the little pit bull on your team? Your definition of that for the Philadelphia 76ers is TJ McConnell. He's no Marcus Smart. And I like TJ. I like him a lot. But he's no Marcus Smart. And JJ Redick, as good as he is as a shooter, he's undersized. It's problematic. I like JJ Redick. He's undersized. You talk about the process, ladies and gentlemen. I would strongly suggest y'all consider looking at the Boston Celtics. And oh, by the way, if there is some question as to Brett Brown's future, it will have everything to do with Markelle Fultz, in my opinion. You know why? Because Markelle Fultz was the number 1 overall pick. Not playing him, I believe, demoralizes your locker room. I think it leaves folks asking questions. I truly, truly do. I think it leaves folks asking questions about exactly what it is that you bring to the table. I really do. Markelle Fultz, you got to find time for him. And especially with Brian Colangelo as your boss, because Brian Colangelo didn't hire you, Brett Brown. So since he didn't hire you, he's not going to be hesitant to let you go, particularly if you're making him look bad by not playing the number 1 overall pick, while the number 3 overall pick that Boston swapped with you to get is balling. It's not smart. It's just not. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That's one item that I wanted to get into. I want to transition to football for this reason. Pittsburgh Steelers draft this kid Mason Rudolph out of Oklahoma State. Be his quarterback of the future potentially. Big Ben Roethlisberger did not like that. He didn't approve of the pick. He said he doesn't know what it does to help the team now, and obviously appears to be a bit chagrined over it. Here's my response to that. Ben Roethlisberger needs to be quiet. Nobody wants to hear from him on this matter. And here's why. He's the one that created the circumstances. He don't know when he's going to play. He doesn't know how long he's going to want to play. Oh, maybe he doesn't have it anymore and he should contemplate retirement and all of this other stuff. He has said numerous things on several occasions that has given every indication that at the very least he was year to year as it pertained to his career being a quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then suddenly they draft a quarterback and you got a problem? Who the hell are you? Big Ben Roethlisberger has one of the top 2 receivers in football in Antonio Brown at his disposal. He has one of the top 2 running backs in Le'Veon Bell at his disposal. He's got an offensive line that simply cannot be ignored. They are under contract, set and ready to protect him for the upcoming season. What's your problem? Big Ben Roethlisberger created these circumstances, ladies and gentlemen, not Rudolph or anybody else. He has no legs in this argument. Zero. And it's just the truth. So we all need to just come to that conclusion, embrace that reality, and move forward. Nobody's pushing Ben Roethlisberger out the door. Ben Roethlisberger's pushing himself out the door because he can't make up his damn mind. Now the latest thing he was saying is that he got another 3 to 5 years in him. Well, we're just a few months removed from him saying he's going year to year. Where did 3 to 5 years come from? And how can you trust him? How can you trust him? When you consider how much he's waffled and wavered over the last year and a half. How can you trust him? You got a new offensive coordinator because he didn't get along with the one that he had in Todd Haley, who was considered pretty damn good. How can you trust him? I tell y'all, boy, sometimes these folks try my damn patience. Some of the stuff that comes out of their mouth. It really, really is. Ben Roethlisberger has a lot of nerves as far as I'm concerned. He don't need to be saying anything. He really, really doesn't. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Smitty in the Bronx. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Talk to me.
How you feeling, Stephen A? You were speaking on Houston Rockets. I want to get back to that for a hot second. Then we'll go to my New York Yankees. First thing, Houston Rockets shoot 45 threes per game. And if they hit 15 of them, I think they got a great chance of beating Golden State. What do you think about that?
The Houston Rockets, you think, have a great chance of beating Golden State?
Yes, I do.
Who doesn't know that?
Okay, because a lot of people thinking that
listen, even with me picking the Warriors, I had it under two conditions. Number one, Steph Curry would be healthy, and number two, it would go 7.
Okay.
They would go back to Houston at the Toyota Center, which is where I think they would pull it off.
Totally agree
Even though
with
they
you.
have a better chance in 6 at the Oracle. But I'm here to tell you something right now. Houston, James Harden's going to have to play like a star. He's going to have to bring his A game. He's going to have to bring his A game. James Harden, he's going to have to bring his A game, and he's going to have to demoralize the Golden State Warriors along the way. He's going to have to put it on them in a way that makes you say, damn, what's he going to do? You know what? These pick and roll situations, that's one thing. These isolation plays, that's one thing. Isolation play is not going to beat the Golden State Warriors.
No.
I'll tell you how you're going to beat the Golden State Warriors. You got to make perimeter shots from your supporting class, which includes Chris Paul, by the way. You got to make perimeter shots, A. And B, you got to push the pace, which is Mike D'Antoni's specialty. Because Klay Thompson complaining about being tired against New Orleans in game 1 of this series. Could you imagine if you're feeling that way against New Orleans, what you going to do against Houston?
Exactly.
So you got to be ready to run up and down that basketball court if you're Golden State, because D'Antoni's going to push the pace. And if he pushes the pace and that works to their advantage, they're going to beat Golden State. I just don't think it will.
Yeah. Another thing, I want to speak on the Yankees and the Red Sox series coming up starting Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
I hope, and I'm a big-time Yankee fan, I hope the Yankees hit one of their players from what happened in Boston last week.
Why is
I
that?
hope that. I'm just saying.
Why are we wishing that kind of violence? Why are we doing that, bro?
I want to bring it right back up to the full height that it was like 10, 15 years ago. That's the reason.
Well, let me say this to you. As long as you're not wishing for anybody to get hurt, I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. Because for me personally, I would love the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry to return to the days of old. That doesn't bother me. And personally speaking, I don't really think it's going anywhere that badly, to be quite honest with you, if I'm being totally honest with you. I mean, the Yankees and Boston are who they are. But I'm looking at this kid. I'm looking at a bunch of things right now. Moreland's batting .347. Bogart's batting .333. Betts has been sensational this year. He got 13 home runs, 26 RBIs, batting .355 so far. And Martinez hasn't been shabby either at .349. Excuse me. I sneezed. I apologize. So I'm looking at Boston right now, and I'm saying to myself, I like what I'm seeing from them. It concerns me. But Sale is no joke. We all know that. And we all know what he brings to the table. And Porcello as well. But everybody else's ERA is highly suspect. And so I'm looking at them right now, and I say, yeah, listen, the Yankees are coming. Ain't no question about it. I'm very, very proud of what I've been seeing from the Yankees throughout this streak it is, winning 15 to 16 and balling the way that they do. I'm very, very proud. I'm very, very happy because they were like 8-9 games back from Boston at one point. That ain't the case now, baby.
That's
Here
right.
come the Yankees. Here come the Yankees. Just a game out right now, 24-10. I love it. But let's see if they can keep it up. Let's see if they can keep it up. That's all I'm trying to say, bro.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Have a good one.
You do the same. I mean, this is very, very important times for my New York Yankees. They got a ball. They got a ball. Giancarlo Stanton and Judge and all of these boys get it done. Gleyber Torres smacking that walk-off home run. That was special to watch. Kids got promise. Let's see if he continues to deliver. Eric in Michigan, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. Good afternoon.
How are you, buddy? Go ahead.
I'm pretty good. I'd like to let you know that I don't trust the Bulls process because I'm a Chicago Bulls fan in hibernation.
No need for you to trust that process. Go ahead.
I don't. I trust the Danny Ainge process. And the Danny Ainge process is taking advantage of stupid and general managers who have jobs on the line and need to make a trade to try and save their own skin. And Danny Ainge has been doing that for years. Well, and the amazing thing is that no other general managers or very few have caught on to that type of style.
I got to confess something to you, Eric. Once upon a time, I didn't like Danny Ainge. I really, really didn't. The brain scans and examining cats' brains and all the stuff that had gotten out about the stuff that he would do or engage in or whatever. But I must confess to you, he has proven to be an elite executive in this game. He really has. He's a phenomenal executive, and I would tell you right now, Boston should be very, very proud of the job that Danny Ainge has done. They really should.
Oh, he should. And quick one on the Roethlisberger. I have a question. Did Ben come out with that 3 to 5 year wanting to play more after they drafted Mason Rudolph?
No,
or
sir.
Was that before?
He said. I think he said it. I think it was right before, but I'm not sure. I think it was right before.
Inkling that they were going to be drafting his replacement, and then decided, I need to go ahead and step up because I'm Big Ben and I'm special.
Well, it's an interesting question. I would tell you this because, Big Ben talking about he's got 3 to 5 more years. I never heard that from him until just a few weeks ago. I never heard that from him.
A year at a time after that.
Listen, this is when did this kid Mason Rudolph get drafted? That was April, 26th?
26th or the 27th.
Ben Roethlisberger said it after. He said it he said it after the kid got drafted.
Gee, wonder why.
He said it after the kid got drafted, not before. Appreciate the call, buddy. Good point on your part. Good call. No question about it. Very, very good for you to point that out because that's true. Those 3 to 5 year comment came out after Mason Rudolph was drafted, not before. Not before. Poncho in Pasadena. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., I have to agree with you on the Brett Brown situation. He got out-coached so bad in games 2 and 3.
Yep.
My question to you is, if they fire him, what do you think Mark Jackson could do for my boys?
Well, I think Mark Jackson would be a viable candidate along with several others. There's no doubt about it. But you see these youngsters, even though Mark Jackson is the kind that can relate to today's players and teach the game of basketball, don't rule out the Jeff Van Gundys of the world, the Mike Woodsons of the world and others that, that have a longer history of coaching in the game and have the ability to teach. Don't rule that out because anything's possible, and you'll have a lot of people coveting that Philadelphia 76ers job. The difference is because you have Colangelo and because you have so many people within the hierarchy of the Sixers organization involved, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to get one of those experienced, seasoned coaches to come in and really teach the game of basketball because they're going to want more say than they'll have. Brian Colangelo is not one to surrender say. He likes his power.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take it easy, man. Let's go to Josh in Newark. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Josh.
Hey, how's it going, Stephen A?
Talk to me. I'm good, man. What's up?
Big fan. Big Eagles fan here, first and foremost, with the champ.
Okay. Nobody cares about that right now because we're talking to NBA. We weren't talking about the Eagles, but go ahead.
Yeah. But I just wanted to make a statement that the Celtics, even though they are playing really well right now, we all know that next round, LeBron's going to take care of business. Being that OG Anunoby, he's a better defender than Jaylen Brown. And what was the number 3 pick that they picked, Tatum? He's a better defender than both of those forwards. And most likely, either one of them are going to be guarding LeBron. So
yeah, but you also have to remember something. You also have to remember something. You're looking at it wrong as far as I'm concerned. You're not paying enough attention to Boston's offense. Like, they have to be guarded too. They're second in the league in 3-point shooting. Let's not forget that. They hit perimeter shots. So you can't ignore what Boston brings to the table either. You have to pay attention to that.
I guess, but
all right.
Toronto's offense is supposed to be better. They had a regular offseason race.
Evidently, they're not when it comes to going up against LeBron because he snatches their soul from them. And by the way, speaking of Toronto, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I had no problem with Dwayne Casey benching DeMar DeRozan. I love DeMar DeRozan. He can play and he's a star, but there's levels to this, and he's not the superstar caliber talent that LeBron James is. When you look at DeMar DeRozan shooting 3 of 12 from the field, what did Dwayne Casey say? It wasn't just about the offense. Well, sometimes your shot's not falling, but you got to do other things to help the team. He wasn't doing that. And I think that people are looking at it wrong. Dwayne Casey might have taken DeMar DeRozan out from further embarrassing himself because he's so psyched out by LeBron that ultimately he can't do but so much. Has anybody considered that? Because that may have been exactly what happened to DeMar DeRozan. And Dwayne Casey may have been saving him from himself. Let's pay attention to that. Let's not dismiss that.
I'm a one-trick pony, literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la, aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Another news reminder, Stan Van Gundy has been relieved of his duties with the Detroit Pistons as president of basketball operations, as well as head coach. So the Detroit Pistons are looking for a new head coach here in Jerry Stackhouse is in Detroit. Hank in Maryland, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
What's going on, Stephen A?
Speak up. My audience needs to hear you, brother. Go ahead.
What's going on, Stephen A? I just wanted to touch base on the whole situation with Stan Van Gundy for this reason. There hasn't been a head coach to play head coach and GM at the same time and be successful, except for Greg Popovich. I haven't seen nobody else do that. And like
interesting
you said,
that you bring that up because I was just saying that to myself. Let me tell you something. I'm more along the lines of a coach should just be a coach now. All of these franchises, they don't need to be giving somebody full control. The coach needs to coach and somebody else needs to oversee the coach. I think that's the way to go. I think you're right.
And with the decisions that he made, even like when he had Avery and Tobias Harris end up trading them to the Clippers, you weren't building anything. Those guys were solid guys. You got rid of solid guys to go along with Andre Drummond. You know, I've been a Pistons fan since the late 80s. And one thing about the coaches that we had that were successful, I had to call them, they were tyrants, and they didn't play that. For some strange reason, Stan Van Gundy wasn't that guy. He wasn't that guy that, that put pressure on the players to perform. That was one thing that made Larry Brown
I don't know
great.
about that. I don't know about that. I'm not going to accuse Van Gundy of not putting pressure on guys to perform. If anything, sometimes they felt too much pressure because he was a guy that was considered a complainer. He didn't hesitate to let you know what he was unhappy about. I don't know how accurate that is, but I know that's been said on a lot of occasions. So it remains to be seen. We'll find out. But I appreciate the call, Hank. Thank you so much. Ken Trell in Atlanta. Talk to me, baby. What's going on?
Hey, Stephen A. First things first, I've been wanting to tell you I really appreciate you holding back accountable on his Brady Cliff discussion. But my first point is, so dealing with LeBron and his career and how we're going to look at him if being top 5. Do you think that him switching teams and the culture he's created in the NBA where players want to take control of their own destiny is going to play into it at all? How we look at him in 10 years, maybe?
I doubt it because, first of all, they're their own people. And secondly, and more importantly, he did it for business reasons. And I think that when you look at the Jordan brand, for example, and what the Jordan brand has become and the millions upon millions of dollars that it's set aside for him, the bottom line is Michael Jordan's a billionaire. LeBron James, if he's not, he's going to be. And I think he is already. And when you look at it from that perspective, facilitating others and inspiring others of your brethren, of your contemporaries to do the same is something that I think is a huge plus. I think that's one of the great, great things that LeBron James has done. I'm not talking about switching teams, but I'm talking about thinking about the business of the world of professional sports as opposed to just the emotion. He's the one that recognizes, staying in the same team, staying with a particular market, not putting yourself in position to win championships. He's been able to monetize those realities, to show that doing one thing might cost you money, doing something else might make you money. And that way you don't have to sit up there with your hand out at the tail end of your career looking for an organization to come to your rescue and take care of you. You can do that for yourself. And it's empowering and it's uplifting. And LeBron James deserves a whole bunch of credit for that.
I definitely agree with that. My second point was, to your point, I disagree with you highly on Chris Paul and Steph Curry canceling each other out in the next series. Honestly, I think Curry will be the X factor considering if he's healthy. I haven't seen anything that would suggest otherwise. Him being healthy, I think Chris Paul looks at Steph Curry and say, I can't stop that man. After him getting his ankles broke.
You zip it. You are wrong. And the reason why you're wrong is because you're misrepresenting my position. I'm not implying that Steph Curry, that Chris Paul can stop Steph Curry. Nobody can stop Steph Curry when he's on, especially somebody that's 2 inches shorter than him in Chris Paul. That's a given. What I'm saying is that the impact that Chris Paul has on the floor, doing what he does as a point guard, along with his ability to score, I expect Chris Paul to be a factor. The problem is that James Harden has to be a superstar. Chris Paul has to play well, but James Harden has to be a superstar in order for Houston to beat Golden State. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand that point. I got Golden State winning in 5, but thank you for taking my call.
I got Golden State winning in 7. I appreciate the call. Kevin in Los Angeles, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., big fan, my man.
Go ahead, buddy.
I got a quick question. 2 quick questions.
Yep.
LeBron James, I think his game is so flawless, Stephen A., that when he plays, he's never going to have those type of situations where you're going to have to question whether he can make the big basket or this and that. He's so flawless, it just doesn't happen.
Well, let me ask you a question. How can you say that when he just did a big shot to win the game? It just happened Saturday night.
But Stephen A., he does big shots throughout the game. He set his control of the game. He sets it all up to put it in his hands when the game is on the line. I don't understand what he did.
Can I ask you a question? Were you saying that when he got blown out in Game 6 to Indiana? Were you saying that when the series went 7? I'm not denying LeBron's greatness, but you're going a bit too far by saying there's never a moment. He controls every moment of every game. There have been plenty of games when he hasn't controlled the moments. In this series, he's controlled every moment against Toronto.
Nobody's perfect.
Well, you said he was. That's my point.
I didn't say he was
you just said he was.
He's close to it. I tell you that more than anybody. And he might be closer than that dude number 24 and that dude out of Chicago. Whether people want to accept that or not, I'm looking at what I see. But Stephen A., I got 2 quick questions. I'm a big Steeler fan. Stephen A., Ben Roethlisberger said that he was contemplating retiring, and he gets upset, and we go get a quarter. We have to look out for the future. You're not bigger than the organization. Stephen A., we might not ever get another ring because with all this
Kev, I just went off on Big Ben Roethlisberger 10 minutes ago, saying those exact same points. What's your second question?
What do you put Tyronn Lue as far as coaching throughout the history of what I want to know? What I'll take that there. Have a good day, Stephen A.
I think Tyronn Lue, this is his last season. I think LeBron James leaves Cleveland and Tyronn leaves, and goes away from coaching due to health issues. That's my personal opinion, no inside information. That's just what I feel. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Your calls to close out the show in a minute, live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Back to the phones we go at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Who's that, Cat Pastor? Who's on the line? Jimmy and Indy, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Steve. I just wanted to talk to you and say that you are 100% truthful and right and really insightful. I was listening to you go at Max today on First Take about how LeBron hasn't played the elite talent or had to go through the elite talent like Jordan did in his era, even just to get to the final. And I went back and looked, and since LeBron has come into the league, other than him, only 10 players from the East have finished in the top 5 in NBA MVP voting since he's been in the league. All 50-some other players have been in the West. And I thought it was tremendously insightful and interesting that you brought that up, because I think it's a huge discrepancy between their two careers that he just can't overcome.
The path to prosperity was significantly tougher for Michael Jordan than it was for LeBron. And LeBron has purposely avoided that hardened path. He hasn't been in the Western Conference. When he's been in the East, he joined forces in Miami, and the only stiff competition he had was Indy. It's just a fact. So I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. So, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the countdown to Mother's Day is on, guys. 1-800-Flowers is here to hook you up with an amazing offer. Buy Mom a dozen sorbet roses, get another half dozen, plus a free vase for only $29.99. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Plus the NBA playoffs on ESPN Radio. Tune in tonight as LeBron and the Cavs host the Raptors, Game 4, Eastern Conference semifinals, presented by Barbasol Razors. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. Who else do we have on the line right here with Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio? Let's go to Ian in Florida. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A. Thanks for taking my call.
Go ahead, buddy. Thank you.
So I was wondering where you think the Pistons are going to go here, because I feel like with that Blake Griffin trade, I know, Reggie Jackson was out for a lot of the year, but I feel like we've kind of set in to be a permanent 7 through 10 seed for like the next 4 years. Is there any hope for me or no?
Pay attention to Jerry Stackhouse. I think you got to pay attention right now to Jerry Stackhouse and see what Arn Tellem and those boys are going to do. I just have a funny feeling it's going to be someone along those lines more so than anybody else. Appreciate the call, Ian. Thank you. Charlie in Cali, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Well, what's going on, Stephen A? Hey, the reason why I was calling is I think LeBron James should just come to the Lakers because, besides having a wonderful owner, we have Magic, Rob, a group of young guys. They're really young. And, it's just
I think that in order for the Lakers to get LeBron, they're going to have to, the city of Los Angeles, the Lakers themselves, they're going to have to get another star to come with him. Brandon Ingram, Kuzma, Randall, Lonzo Ball, that's fine, good and dandy. But LeBron's not going to come by himself. I don't believe that. I believe in order for LeBron to arrive in L.A., to land in L.A., he's going to have help. Otherwise, he's not going to come. So that means you got to get another star to come with him. That's what I believe you're going to have to do.
Would it be enough to pass the Warriors or the Rockets with Paul George and LeBron James?
Nope. I don't think so. That's just my personal opinion. It could get interesting, but I still don't think it's enough. I really, really don't. I'm of that mindset. I'm not there.
Leave the
so I just want to make
over the Lakers.
No, I don't think that's enough for the Lakers. I think they need more than that. So right now, if I had to put it in order, I think it's a better shot that LeBron will end up going to Philly, as hard as that is to believe. Philly, Houston, or Philly or Houston before L.A. That's just my thinking. Let's go to Ray in Florida. You only got 30 seconds, Ray. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A., from one Knicks fan to another. How's Kawhi, CP3, and LeBron sound?
Why? Why are you telling me that?
because I think they make a good pair in New
They
York.
would never land in New York. New York doesn't have the cap space. With Kawhi Leonard, you'd have to also make a trade. What are you going to give up to get him? Can't get all three. No way would happen.
All right, well, thanks for the heads up.
Thank you. Appreciate the call. Obviously, the man's paying no attention. He's just sitting there praying and dreaming because ain't no way that could happen. But we got to talk about these games. I expect Philly to survive tonight and push it to Game 5 before losing in Game 5 to Boston Wednesday night. I think the Cavs and LeBron will sweep the Toronto Raptors tonight. Damn shame because Dwayne Casey's a hell of a coach, but he doesn't have the team to mess with LeBron. Talk to y'all in 22 hours. Peace and love.